Hi guys, welcome to another HOI4 video. In today's video we're going to talk about one exploit. One very particular exploit. If you watched some of my challenge videos, you're probably very familiar with it. However, in this video I want to kind of make a full guide to that exploit. I'm obviously talking about the Lend Lease exploit. If you wonder what the hell am I talking about, basically if you have Together for Victory DLC, what you can do is request Lend Lease from other countries. And that's kind of broken. However, in order to request Lend Lease, you will need two main things. First thing, you'd have to be in some sort of war. You could be either in a civil war or in other type of war. You can basically fight a country that's on the other side of the globe, because you can request Lend Lease only if you're at war. For this video, I'm gonna create a civil war as Albania using commands. As you can see now, I'm in the civil war, which means this button is now unlocked. Still, there needs to be one more thing. There needs to be a legal transport path between the target country, which you want to steal Lend Lease from, and you. In order to have legal transport path, you either need to be in the same body of land as the target country, in this case in Europe. You could be, for example, in Afghanistan. Still, Lend Lease would go through neutral countries into Afghanistan. Let's say that I'm Afghanistan and I'm at war with Iran. Iran is between me and Italy, so Lend Lease should go through Iran. But it actually can go around. It can go through Soviet Union with no issues whatsoever. However, sometimes that doesn't apply. For example, if you're Menguccio and you want to steal Lend Lease from Italy, and you're at war with the Chinese United Front, sometimes the Lend Lease just won't arrive because there is enemies in between you and the target country. So it doesn't even go around through Mongolia and Soviet Union, it just doesn't arrive, ever. Now that's the case if your country is located on the same body of land as target country, but if it's not connected by land, if it's, let's say, in the Americas, or if you're playing some island nation like Ireland or Philippines or something like that, in that case you need to have two things. You need to have a port, at least one port, level 1 port, and you need convoys. So countries like Bolivia and Paraguay are unable to get Lend Lease from countries like Italy and Germany. But Brazil can, because Brazil has a coast and has about 40 convoys. That wouldn't get them that much Lend Lease, but it still would get them some Lend Lease. Once these both conditions are met, once you're at war and once you got the legal transport path with the target nation, then you can start seeing the Lend Lease. Then you simply right click on the target country and go for request Lend Lease. However, in order to get Lend Lease, they need to have good opinion of you most of the time. You can easily improve their opinion of you by simply improving relations. In case of Italy, you can basically always ask for military access as well, which will make them like you some more. You can get also non-aggression pact. Let's say we do all that, they now have 60 opinion of us. They need to have at least 45 opinion of us to steal Lend Lease, but I would always recommend you to get some more because you're gonna lose opinion monthly. Once they have good enough opinion, now you should be able to ask for Lend Lease. But the thing is, they're not gonna give you because you have enough guns or whatever you're asking for. So what you're gonna make sure is to have negative amounts of the equipment that you're trying to get from them. In this case, guns. There's many ways you can do this. You can try to train divisions. For example, I'm gonna put 11 divisions into training. Now I got minus 10,000 guns. Also, one more condition needs to be met. Besides you not having enough equipment, target nation needs to have enough equipment. For example, Italy has to have like 1,000 guns in the stockpile. By the way, you can only request Lend Lease for equipment that you're currently producing or that you were producing at some point. So if you, for example, want to get not only guns but also CAS or something like that, what you have to do is research that equipment. Let's say I research CAS, fighters, as well as new guns, trucks, as well as artillery. After researching all of that equipment, what you're going to do now is to go into the production tab and start quote-unquote fake production. You don't have to produce actually anything, it just needs to be in production. 0 factories of trucks, that's good enough. 0 factories of artillery, 0 factories of support equipment, 0 factories of fighters, 0 factories of CAS. Now when you request for Lend Lease, as you can see, all of this will be visible there. You will be able to request all that equipment. However, still, they're not going to send you unless you have big deficit. The only equipment that's an exception here is convoys. Sometimes the target countries just decide to give you convoys, and it's kind of RNG. Once you get more convoys, they're just not going to give you convoys ever again. This time Italy decided to give me 27 convoys. Right, now let's talk about target countries. Which countries are the best quote-unquote targets? Early in the game, only fascist and communist countries can Lend Lease you. Later into the game, non-light countries can Lend Lease you as well, and in the late game, democratic countries can also Lend Lease you due to world tension. However, you definitely want the Lend Lease most of the time early in the game, so you should be looking on fascist and communist countries. Now instantly, somewhat bad candidates here are Japan, because they are an island nation, as well as Dominican Republic. You should always look for the countries that are on your continent. For example, if you're playing as Colombia, you should look out for El Salvador to give you some Lend Lease. They won't give you that much of Lend Lease though, not as much as Italy would, or Germany or Soviet Union, but they still would give something. However, if you're playing in the Europe, Asia, or Africa, you should almost always seek Italy, and also either Germany or Soviet Union, or all three of them. Mongolia and Tentuva can give you some extra guns, as well as Xinjiang in Communist China, but these three are majors, they have tons of equipment. Japan also can help you out, but the thing is, you need convoys to get Lend Lease from them, because they're an island nation. So if you want to get Lend Lease from Germany, or from the Soviet Union, or from any country, you need to improve relations. You don't have to worry about your ideology. Even if you're fascist, the Soviet Union is going to help you out with some equipment. But keep in mind, you have to have deficit of equipment, and also the target country needs to have enough of that equipment. For example, Italy almost always gets you guns, while giving you almost no fighters whatsoever. Or Germany won't give you guns, but they'll give you artillery and support equipment. Same thing with Soviet Union, which has a massive army, which is barely equipped. They always have a deficit of guns, and most of the time they won't give you any guns. However, they won't hesitate giving you fighters, gas, or things like that. As for Germany, throughout most of the game they won't give you any guns, or very little guns. However, they will provide you with support equipment, artillery, trucks. Basically, will always give you fighters and gas. Also, another nice thing, you can actually steal light tanks both from Italy and Germany. Go into production, get interbar light tank chassis, modify it, give it some heavy machine gun or small cannon. You would need 1 army experience for that. Put it into production, and now you can steal also light tanks from both Germany and Italy. There's one more very important and very useful thing I have to show you as well. How to create a deficit of equipment. It's easy to create a deficit of guns. You can just put a bunch of units into training. As for planes, you'd need at least 1 plane. You'd have to deploy it and then set limit to like 1000. But for some other complex equipment like tanks, artillery, or actually anything, really, you can easily do it by lend leasing other countries. Most of the time you can do it either in Spanish Civil War or in the Chinese War. One very good candidate for this is Menguko, because there's enemies in between you and Menguko most of the time, so lend lease doesn't arrive. It's very good if you can't get a legal transport path, because then equipment never gets delivered, it's just stuck. However, if there is a legal transport path, what you have to do is about every 28 days or so you'd have to modify Lend Lease. I'm Lend Leasing the Republic of Spain, and I'm sending them all of this equipment. Infinite amounts of everything, and as you can see now I have negative 2 million of everything. The thing is, Lend Lease is going to arrive. If I don't cancel it, it's gonna arrive and I'm gonna lose a bunch of equipment. I don't really want that. So what I can do, just 1 day before it arrives, is just modify Lend Lease, add 1 number here and send again, and it's going to be refreshed back to 30 more days. You have to be careful with this though, because you could lose lots of equipment. If you know what you're doing, this shouldn't be really an issue. As I previously mentioned, the other very good target country is Menguko. Why? Because, well, when they are at war with the Chinese United Front, you can't really send them Lend Lease. Sending them infinite amounts of equipment, which will never arrive. But this time you won't have to cancel or modify it every now and then, because no legal transport path, as you can read down here. So eventually, after 30 days, it's just gonna say next delivery expected in any time, and it's never gonna arrive, basically. For years, it's gonna be stuck like that, which means you'll be able to beg for everything from other countries. Also, if you depend on convoys and Lend Lease, what I would recommend you to do is to basically never ask for guns. First ask for convoys. If they're gonna give you, that's good. You'll be able to get more Lend Lease. If no, then what can you do really? After that, simply ask for everything except for guns, because guns take a lot of convoys away. You can produce guns and still steal, very funny, still steal support equipment, artillery, planes, tanks, you get what I mean. Also, one thing that the AI is practically never going to Lend Lease you is anti-tank and also anti-air, but they almost always have artillery. Some honorable mentions for target countries. Hungary, when it switches to fascism. Vichy France, when they're fascist, they're also gonna give you tons of guns. National Spain, if they become fascist, and later on any non-aligned country like Romania or Turkey, you can literally steal Lend Lease from them. You just have to improve relations, and they're gonna send you like 15,000 guns or something like that. Also, if you're in the World War II, you can always ask Germany for more. They'll always send you tons of guns, not only strengthening you, but also weakening them if you want to defeat them later on. And we're nearing the end of the video, but before we end it, I want to show you an exploit in an exploit, basically. So there's even an exploit inside of this exploit. That's how exploitable this game is. Basically, when you ask for Lend Lease, or if any country gives you Lend Lease on their own, they're gonna give you a certain amount of equipment. This time, Italy decided to give me 520 guns. And normally, what should happen is, after 1 month, you get 520 guns. However, for some odd enough reason, you don't get 100% of the equipment. Instead, you roughly get about 99%. So I wouldn't be getting 520 guns. I'll be getting 5.2 guns less. As you can see, modify Lend Lease, another 5.5 guns are not there. Still, after a month, these 5.5 guns won't be delivered. Actually, only about 5.3 guns would be delivered, and there'll still be 0.2 guns left to deliver. I'm not sure if this is a glitch or if it's meant to be this way because some equipment gets lost and whatnot, but you can exploit this. Let's say I'm playing here Albania and I'm in a civil war, Italy just gave me Lend Lease, and suddenly I just won a civil war, and guess what? They're still Lend Leasing me, but this will arrive eventually and it's gonna stop. But the thing is, what I can do now is modify the Lend Lease and ask them for everything else. So they're still gonna send me 5 guns, but also everything else as well. 174 convoys, now that's insane. And what I can do once again is modify incoming Lend Lease, cancel the guns only, and after another day once again modify it and ask for guns, and this time they're gonna send me 1000 guns instead of 5 guns. So you can do this over and over again, and this is very useful. You can basically do this for years and practically get free equipment even if you're not poor. Anyway, I believe that's all there is to say about this exploit. I hope you learned something new and I hope this video was informative to you. If it was, then like, share and subscribe. Also consider joining my Discord server, and yeah, see you in the next video. Bye!